Hello everybody and welcome back to Growing in the Cove. My name is Stacy and I garden in Zone 5B, Newfoundland. So today I've brought you to my dahlia patch so I can show you how I dig and store my dahlias. You will see countless videos online of how people do this, and there's a lot of different methods, and I'm not saying this is the right way, but this is my way and it works for me, and I have very little tuber loss from year to year. In fact, some of these varieties I've been growing for a few years now because I keep overwintering the tubers. So it's been a fantastic long fall season for dahlias. My dahlias were late blooming, but they're absolutely beautiful. I just am sad to see them go, but it's that time where I need to start putting my garden to bed. So the most important tip that I can give when digging your dahlias is to make sure that you mark them, because once they come out of the ground, all of the tubers look the same and there's absolutely no way of identifying what variety is which. So I think I learned this method from Florette Flower a few years ago, but she uses trail tape, which is super easy to find at the dollar store or wherever, and a Sharpie, and I will write the name of each variety on the trail tape and tie it around the base of the plant. And I will do this first before I do anything else, so I know all of my varieties. And my next step is that I'm going to cut down all of the foliage straight to the ground. Okay, so now that all of the foliage has been cut down, I am going to gently dig with my garden fork. You can see that my fork has seen better days and is really bent out of shape, but it's a good thing to use, or you could use a trowel or a shovel, but be very careful because you don't want to actually pierce the tuber with any of the prongs of your fork. So I like to gently go at about 6 inches away from the dahlia and see if I can pop it up. And I'll kind of go around, hoping that I don't hit the tuber. Okay, so I grab it by the stem and very gently lift it out of the soil because I want to keep it as intact as possible. And there, this one is always a really good tuber producer. This is Salmon Runner. This is my favorite dahlia of all time. But you can see that this is a gorgeous looking tuber, and I'm just going to continue digging them up. Okay, here we go. Look at that. So I could definitely divide this and get more plants next year, which I will definitely do. I try to brush off as much of the dirt as possible. Now, sometimes, this is a really good example. You can see this was probably the mother tuber. This was probably the original one that was planted this year. And a lot of times you'll find that the mother will die. So I'll know this is no good because you can see this is rotten and squishy. So I always remove anything rotten because that will make your entire tuber go bad. So I will get my pruners and try to get as much of that off as possible. And if there's anything else that's squishy, then I will also get rid of that. It's really not worth losing an entire clump. I'm just going to cut off some of these long roots. Okay, and I think that's okay. Okay, so there we go, another tuber ready to go into storage. All of my tubers are dug and labeled, and I've knocked off as much dirt as I can. I'm now going to bring these indoors for at least a day or a couple of days to let them dry out a little bit. The stems are still very, very wet, and I'm concerned that if I were to pack them away right now, they're more likely to rot. So I'm going to bring these into my garage and I'm going to lay them out on a pallet for a few days. Okay, so I've now laid out all of my tubers on this pallet, and I'm going to let them kind of cure for a few days, let them dry out a little bit. I did put them upside down, so the wettest part with the soil on it is actually facing outwards to encourage it to dry as much as possible. So I'll come back in a couple of days and show you how I'm going to store these in my basement for winter. So it's been about 3 days since I dug up my tubers and I laid them out on this pallet to cure. I know that they seem fine. We did have a pretty cold night out here in the garage, but none of them are really mushy or seeming slimy, so it seems like everything did fine. So what I do now to store my dahlias is I use a big Rubbermaid container, and I like to use this animal bedding that you can buy in big box stores or pet stores, and it's meant for hamsters or rabbits, and it's basically just sawdust, kind of rough cut wood chips and sawdust. So I'm going to show you how I pack these away in my Rubbermaid container for winter. So I like to start by putting in a layer of wood shavings at the bottom of the container. I usually keep this animal bedding from year to year because it would be really wasteful to buy new stuff every year. So I'll start by putting a layer at the bottom of my container, and then I start layering my dahlias. At this point, if you wanted to clean them up a little bit, you can cut off these extra roots. Nothing is going to hurt the plant by removing these. They'll grow new roots next year, so if you wanted to do that, you could cut them off with your pruners. You could knock off any dirt, but I'm pretty happy with this, and I make sure that the label is attached securely and not slipping off. So I'll start by making a single layer of dahlias at the bottom of the container. And I make sure that as I put them in, that they're not touching, because if one happens to rot in there and it's touching another one, then it will spread to the rest of them. So this is just kind of the Tetris of fitting them all in. And I can probably fit one more. So now I will completely cover that layer with a layer of the wood chips and repeat. Now, I don't have a huge amount of dahlias to store. I have less than 20, but you can do this in as many layers as you need to. Now that all of my tubers have been packed away, I'm going to pop the top on my Rubbermaid container, and I'm actually going to store this in the coolest part of my basement. I wouldn't risk storing them in an unheated garage or unheated space that may freeze or go below freezing, because that will kill the tubers, unfortunately. So I don't like to take any chances, and I keep them inside in the coldest part of my house. I usually check them around February to make sure I don't have any rotting tubers, and I'll remove anything that looks like it could spread to the rest. But beyond this, I've been doing this method for years and it works for me. And it's a great way to save money, because purchasing dahlia tubers can add up and become very expensive. And this is a great way to continue growing some of your favorite tried and true varieties, and then dividing them and creating more of your own stock. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions about dahlia storage, please let me know, and I will do my best to answer your questions in the comments below. If you'd like to help me out, you can hit the like button for this video or subscribe to my channel. Beyond that, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.